Hi guys. More wonder. We're up to page 294. The chapter is called Take Your Seats, Everyone. Jack and I walked right in behind a couple of sixth graders into the building and then followed them into the auditorium. Mrs. G was at the entrance handing out the programmes and telling the kids where to go. Fifth graders down the aisle to the left, she said. Sixth graders go to the right. Everyone come on in, come in. Good morning, go to your staging areas. Fifth graders to the left, sixth grade to the right. The auditorium was huge inside. Big sparkly chandeliers, red velvet walls, rows and rows and rows of cushioned seats leading up to the giant stage. We walked down the wide aisle and followed the signs to the fifth grade staging area, which was in a big room to the left of the stage. Inside were 4 rows of folding chairs facing the front of the room, which is where Miss Rubin was standing, waving us in as soon as we walked into the room. Okay, kids, take your seats, she was saying, pointing to the rows of chairs. Don't forget you're sitting in alphabetical order. Come on, everybody, take your seats. Not too many kids had arrived yet, though. The ones who had weren't listening to her. Me and Jack were sword fighting with our rolled up programmes. Hey, guys! It was Summer walking over to us. She was wearing a light pink dress and I think a little makeup. Wow, Summer, you look awesome, I told her, because she really did. Really? Thanks, you do too, Augie. Yeah, you look okay, Summer, said Jack, kind of matter-of-factly, and for the first time I realised that Jack had a crush on her. This is so exciting, isn't it? Said Summer. Yeah, kind of, I answered, nodding. Oh man, look at this programme, said Jack, scratching his forehead. We're going to be here all day. I looked at my programme. Headmaster's opening remarks, Dr. Harold Jansen. Middle school director's address, Mr. Lawrence Tushman. Light and day, middle school choir. 5th grade student commencement address, Zamina Chin. Pachelbel's canon in D, middle school chamber music ensemble. 6th grade student commencement address, Mark Antoniak. Under pressure, middle school choir. Middle school dean's address, Miss Jennifer Rubin. Awards presentation, see back, roll call of names. A lot to get through. Why do you think that? I asked. Oh, because Mr. Jansen's speeches go on forever, said Jack. He's even worse than Tushman. My mum said she actually dozed off when he spoke last year, Summer added. What's the awards presentation? I asked. That's where they give medals to the biggest brainiacs, Jack answered, which will mean Charlotte and Zamina will win everything in the 5th grade, like they won everything in the 4th grade and in the 3rd grade. Not in the 2nd grade, though, I laughed. They didn't give out those awards in 2nd grade, he answered. Maybe you'll win this year, I joked. Not unless they give awards for the most C's, he laughed. Everybody take your seats, Miss Rubin started yelling louder now, like she was getting more and more annoyed that nobody was listening to her. We've got a lot to get through, so take your seats. Don't forget you're sitting in alphabetical order. A through G is the first row, H through N the second row, O through Q the third row, and R through Z is the last row. Let's go, people, come on. We should sit down, said Summer, walking towards the front section. You guys are definitely coming over to my house after this, right? I called out after her. Definitely, she said, taking a seat next to Zamina Chin. When did summer get so hot? Jack muttered in my ear. Shut up, dude, I said, laughing as we headed towards the front row. Seriously, when did that happen? He whispered, taking a seat next to mine. Mr. Will, Miss Rubin shouted. Last time I checked, W came between R and Z, yes? Jack looked at her blankly. Dude, you're in the wrong row, I said. Am I? And the face he made as he got up to leave, which was a mixture of looking completely confused and looking like he'd played a joke on someone, totally cracked me up. Next chapter, A Simple Thing. About an hour later, we were all seated in the giant auditorium waiting for Mr. Tushman to give his middle school address. The auditorium was even bigger than I imagined it would be, bigger even than the one at Via's school. I looked around and there must be 1 million people in the audience. Okay, maybe not 1 million, but definitely a lot. Thank you, Headmaster Jansen, for those very kind words of introduction, said Mr. Tushman, standing behind the podium on the stage as he talked into the microphone. Welcome, my fellow teachers and members of the faculty. Welcome, parents and grandparents, friends and honoured guests. Most especially welcome to my 5th and 6th grade students. Welcome to the Beecher Prep Middle School graduation ceremonies. Everyone applauded. Every year, continued Mr. Tushman, reading from his notes, with his reading glasses way down on the tip of his nose, I'm charged with writing 2 commencement addresses, one for the 5th and 6th grade graduation ceremony today, and one for the 7th and 8th grade ceremony that will take place tomorrow. And every year I say to myself, let me cut down on my work and let's just write one address that I can use for both situations. Seems like it shouldn't be such a hard thing to do, right? And yet each year I still end up with 2 different speeches, no matter what my intentions. And I finally figured out why this year. It's not, as you might assume, simply because tomorrow I'll be talking to an older crowd with middle school experience that's largely behind them, whereas your middle school experience is largely in front of you. No, I think it has more to do with this particular age that you are now. This particular moment that your lives, that even after 20 years of my being around students this age, still moves me. Because you are at the cusp, kids. You're at the edge between childhood and everything that comes after. You're in transition. We're all gathered here together, Mr. Tushman continued, taking off his glasses and used them to point at all of us in the audience. All your families, friends and teachers to celebrate not only your achievements this past year, Beecher middle schoolers, but your endless possibilities. When you reflect on this past year, I want you all to look at where you are now and where you've been. You've all gotten a little taller, a little stronger, a little smarter, I hope. Here, some people in the audience chuckled. But the best way to measure how much you've grown isn't by inches or the number of laps you can now run around the track, or even your grade point average. Though those things are important, to be sure. It's what you've done with your time, how you've chosen to spend your days, and whom you've touched this year. That to me is the greatest measure of success. There's a wonderful line in the book by J.M. Barrie, and no, it's not Peter Pan, and I'm not going to ask you to clap if you believe in fairies. Here everyone laughed again. But in another book by J.M. Barrie, called A Little White Bird, he writes, he started flipping through a small book on the podium until he found the page he was looking for, and then he put on his reading glasses. Shall we make a new rule of life, to always try to be a little kinder than is necessary? Here Mr. Tushman looked up at the audience. Kinder than is necessary, he repeated. What a marvellous line, isn't it? Kinder than is necessary. Because it's not enough to be kind. One should be kinder than is needed. Why I love that line, that concept, is that it reminds me that we carry with us as human beings not just the capacity to be kind, but the very trace of kindness. And what does that mean? How is that measured? You can't use a meter stick. It's like I was saying before, it's not like measuring how much you've grown in a year. It's not exactly quantifiable, is it? How do we know we've been kind? What is being kind anyway? He put on his reading glasses again and started flipping through another small book. There's another passage in a different book I'd like to share with you, he said, if you'll bear with me while I find it. Here we go. Under the Eye of the Clock by Christopher Nolan. The main character is a young man who's facing some extraordinary challenges. There's this one part where someone helps him, a kid in his class. On the surface, it's a small gesture, but to this young man, whose name is Joseph, it's, well, if you'll permit me. He cleared his throat and read from the book. It was at moments such as these that Joseph recognised the face of God in human form. It glimmered in their kindness to him. It glowed in their keenness. It hinted in their caring. Indeed, it caressed in their gaze. He paused and took off his reading glasses again. It glimmered in their kindness to him, he repeated, smiling. It's such a simple thing, kindness. Such a simple thing. A nice word of encouragement given when needed. An act of friendship, a passing smile. He closed the book and put it down and leaned forward on the podium. Children, what I want to impart on you today is an understanding of the value of that simple thing called kindness. And that's what I want you all to leave with today. I know I'm kind of infamous for my verbosity. Here everyone laughed again. I guess he knew he was known for his really long speeches. But what I want you, my students, to take away from your middle school experience, he continued, is the sure knowledge that in the future you make for yourselves, anything is possible. If every single person in this room made it a rule that wherever you are, whenever you can, you will try to act a little kinder than is necessary, the world really would be a better place. And if you do this, if you act just a little kinder than is necessary, someone else, somewhere, someday may recognise in you, in every single one of you, the face of God. He paused and shrugged. Or whatever the politically correct spiritual representation of universal goodness you happen to believe in, he added quickly, smiling, which got a lot of laughs and loads of applause, especially from the back of the auditorium where the parents were sitting. Well, I'm going to pause there, but I really, really like that chapter in Wonder, and I really like the thought of being kinder than is necessary. I think we all know how to be kind, but making the effort to go that extra little bit of kindness is really important, especially when we have all the terrible news going on at the minute. I think being kinder than is necessary is so, so important. So tomorrow, I want you to think about what you can do to be that little bit more kinder, that little bit more generous, that little bit more considerate, that little bit more thoughtful, and, you know, to make someone else's day a little bit better. Hope you have a lovely evening. Bye.